We'll kick things off with Neal here in just a few minutes. But first, we want to meet all of you, our audience members. So if you could find the chat button at the bottom of your screen, send a message. Let us know who you are, what company you're representing, and where you're tuning in from. While that's happening, I'm going to go ahead and quickly introduce myself. My name is Danielle Reha, and I'm the content marketing manager at Team Engine, where we provide software to recruit, engage, and retain your on-the-go workforce. In that role, I create the tools and resources, like this webinar, that you see on our website and social media. So if you're not already following us on social media, or you're not already subscribed to our monthly newsletter, make sure you do that today. That way you can stay up to date with all of those free resources that I'm always curating and sharing on those channels. If you are just joining us, I do see some folks popping into the chat. Please join them, hop over there and send a message. Let us know what company you're representing, where you're calling in from. We'd just love to meet you in the chat, and it's fun to get to know where everyone's showing up from. Now, I'm going to go ahead and introduce Neal to get this thing kicked off. So Neal Glatt, our host for the day, has done a ton of hiring in his life, both as a consultant at Grow the Bench, helping his clients find employees, as well as in his previous role, working for one of the largest snow contractors in the United States. And there he was hiring the labor that he needed to fulfill those snow removal contracts. And it's through all of that experience that he's come to learn how and why hiring salespeople is an entirely different ballgame from hiring laborers and management. So today, Neal's going to show you his science-backed approach to finding those elusive, high-performing salespeople. Neal, take us away.
Hey, thanks, Danielle, and thanks everyone for joining us live. If you're here live and you have questions, I can't see you, but I will keep the chat bar open, and feel free to pop me questions as we go along. If it's appropriate to hop in when I'm talking about it, great, and I'll try and answer it on the fly. If it's barely on topic, then I'll try and address it at the end with Q&A, but we'll hang out and have a good time. And really my goal here is to help you understand how to go about hiring a salesperson. You know, I sold for most of my career before I helped other contractors hire and sell. And sales is awesome. I mean, a great salesperson for the line of work that we're in can easily be bringing in $700,000, $1 million, 1.5. You know, towards the end of my career, when I was selling large portfolios of snow removal work, I was signing contracts, individual pieces of paper that were worth millions of dollars on their own. And it's just not feasible to get that kind of scale to sell some of these projects that you're working on without a salesperson, right? And maybe you're the salesperson. Maybe you're the one negotiating those regional maintenance contracts, or if you're in design build, you know, no homeowner is going to spend 6 figures on their landscape from a postcard, but they want to talk to you, right? And so your marketing efforts are great for those small sales. You can interact with a lot of homeowners, but if you want to scale big, it's not going to happen without salespeople. Now, the problem is salespeople are expensive, first of all. I think the average sales salary in the US right now is somewhere around $80,000 a year. And of course, we want better than average people, right? So it's expensive to have a salesperson. And unfortunately, there's not a lot of great salespeople with industry experience currently looking for a job. So you're probably hiring somebody from outside the industry, so there's training time. And if you do it wrong, you're losing those sales every day that they're not performing. So it's massively, massively expensive to get wrong. And I think in the handout that you'll get, Danielle, we have Danielle put in a calculator to help you figure out how much it costs when you hire the wrong salesperson. But certainly it adds up very quickly. It's not an exaggeration to say that turning over one salesperson will cost you at least 1.5 times their annual salary. But hiring salespeople needs to be different. And I talk about hiring all the time. A lot of you have seen the hiring course that Team Engine sponsored on Grow the Bench. I talk about all these great tips and tools, and I always tell you it doesn't work for sales. So, every other position that exists in a company, someone's getting paid for work. They show up, they do work, and they're getting paid. But sales is really often based on results. There's a commission involved. Sometimes it's 100%, sometimes it's 10%, but salespeople often are getting paid for what they produce, which isn't really always in their control, right? If you think about it, like some of the plant material you put out, you can do everything right, and then stuff can still go wrong. There's environmental concerns. There's issues that happen to our plant material. And despite all of our best efforts, it's not 100% success. Salespeople are the same thing. They're going out, they're qualifying, they're presenting, they're doing everything right. I mean, I don't close 100%. And I'm a professional salesperson. I teach professional salespeople how to sell. I don't close 100%. Nobody does. But you do 100% of the work. And so you need a different kind of person to be able to endure that dynamic. Every other position in a company is supported and enabled. You have software, you have processes, you're coaching them. And it's not that you don't do that for salespeople, but salespeople get attacked by third party, right? Salespeople have to deal with competition, spreading lies, undercutting, doing all kinds of stuff that nobody else does. No other accountant comes into your accounting department and sabotages your books, right? No receptionist is quietly trying to hang up the phone on your receptionists, but salespeople have that dynamic. So it's highly competitive. And the last thing is every other position is really able to work in any market condition. I mean, we all deal with stuff. And of course, if a company is suffering economically, there may be cuts, but they're protected to an extent. Whereas salespeople are really affected by economic factors. I mean, a lot of what I do is snow removal here in the Northeast. We had a really light winter. And so maybe we're in a recession, maybe we're not. I mean, certainly businesses are feeling the crunch, but man, it didn't snow here. So that's a market factor, an economic factor that's really facing contractors in a different way here. You look at people's buying behavior will be a leading indicator of what a market's going to do rather than a trailing indicator. And salespeople are subject to all of that. So sales is different. And we can't hire people the same way for sales that we do for other positions because they deal with these unique dynamics. So I want to tell you about Objective Management Group. I live just outside Boston, Massachusetts. Objective Management Group is located about 15 minutes from my house, but they basically invented the sales assessment more than 30 years ago. And in that time, they've assessed more than 2.35 million people for over 36,000 companies. They do sales assessments to tell you if your people are good or not. If you have a sales force and you want to figure out who you should get rid of, we do downsizing, which is unfortunately becoming more common. But we also use Objective Management Group to help hire salespeople. And everything, all the science I'm going to share with you came from Objective Management Group. Now, I am a partner with Objective Management Group, meaning I am certified to sell and service clients using their products, which I do. But my relationship with Objective Management Group started way before that. I took an Objective Management Group assessment all the way back in 2015 when I was still a salesperson. And my sales coach introduced me to them, and I was struggling to make enough sales. I took this assessment. It said, hey, you've got some problems as a salesperson. We addressed them, my sales coach and I, and then we blew up Case Snow Management from about 10 million at the time to 40 million over the course of about 5 years. So I really believe in the science. I've proven it in my own career, and now I've used it to help other companies hire lots of salespeople, and it's phenomenal. And across all these companies and all these assessments, Objective Management Group has the predictive data to actually bank on this when you're looking to hire a salesperson. When you hire a salesperson with Objective Management Group, you test as many people as you want. when they're recommended and then hired 92% of the time, those salespeople become top 50% performer within 12 months. So 92% of the time when we say, yeah, this is a person you can hire, or they're recommended to be a salesperson and they're hired, they become a top performer within their first year. 75% of the time when someone's not recommended, but a company says, well, I like their experience, I'm going to hire them anyway, they wash out from that company within 6 months. It's so predictive that there's a guarantee with this system, which is if you hire someone who's recommended and they don't work out for any reason, we'll give you credit back for that hire. And I tell you that not to try and sell you this assessment, which you can buy, and frankly, you should if you're looking to hire a salesperson because it's so economical, but really to tell you that there's no other company out there that will actually guarantee their results. You want to hire somebody with a personality assessment, which doesn't make any sense, and we'll talk about why. They won't guarantee their results because it's not predictive enough. Objective Management Group is. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you what Objective Management Group tests for, and then you can figure out how to measure that, either with their assessment or on your own using your gut, but much better than any other hiring system that you've probably tried in the past. So the number one thing that we have to worry about for salesperson is, does this person have the sales specific drive to succeed? You know, sales is hard work, really hard work. And if somebody doesn't want to do it, they're not going to. And so the will to sell is the top factor in figuring out salesperson performance. And Objective Management Group has broken that down into 5 categories. And what I'm showing you here is excerpts from the assessment. So what you'll see is, this is a sample. I can get you the whole sample if you want. It's like 40 pages. But you're seeing someone's results who are recommended. And this target number for each of these findings is based on the difficulty level for the sales role. We'll get to that. But desire, when someone doesn't have a strong desire to sell, they tend to focus on non-sales activities, right? So these are people who are taking care of existing customers. These are people who are reconciling accounts. These are people who are creating more white papers or writing blogs or articles or doing interviews, because they're working on good activities that they can justify as themselves as important, but they're not having to actually go sell. They don't feel urgency to close a lot of deals. They just kind of, lack concern about sales as a whole. I talked to one company where they had a bunch of account managers who were their salespeople. And none of the account managers seemed to realize that if they didn't really get out there and sell, the company would go out of business. But sales is everything, right? So a salesperson who has a strong desire, they really care about sales. They're driven, they have a desire to sell, they feel that urgency, and they want to focus on sales as much as possible. Now, they also have to have a commitment, right? So it's one thing to really want something. We all want to be healthier, right? But who's going to take the commitment to go to the gym every day to work out? That's something different. And the same thing for sales. Someone who can persevere because they're committed to making the same behaviors every single day. I talk to people all the time. I coach salespeople. They really, really want to sell. They really want the reward. They're motivated to get there, but they're not willing to make 50 phone calls and leave 50 voicemails every day for a week because it's hard work, right? So how do you push beyond that discomfort? It's through commitment. The third finding that we look at is outlook. So outlook is an inward impression about whether someone can sell. Do they feel that they're worthy of selling? Sometimes people don't feel like they're worthy of calling on decision makers, that person's too important for them. Sometimes someone will say, you know what, the economy sucks. I can't sell what we're selling right now, or my company sucks. True story, the first company I worked for in landscaping, I had a bad outlook around sales because our operations manager wasn't that good. He would find a way to ruin every single job. And my outlook went down and my sales went down. Versus feeling positive and focused and appreciating your opportunity for success, for mastery. Then there's responsibility. A great salesperson owns whatever sales they bring in. And if they didn't make a sale, they don't blame the company or the economy or some other factor, the competition. They own it and they say, you know what, I didn't get it. I understand why, and here's what I'm going to do differently. And the final one is motivation. So does this person have a strong, compelling reason to be doing sales, a dream or a goal for something they want to achieve? And I can't tell you how often we don't see motivation for salespeople. This was my issue. I 3 years into my career with case snow management, I had my worst sales year ever. And it didn't make any sense. I finally knew the industry. I had a pipeline. I had prospects. I had good sales tactics, but I had my worst year ever because I achieved all my goals and I hadn't set new ones. And this is what Objective Management Group told me I needed to do, was go set new compelling goals and a plan to achieve them personally. And I did. And then we were able to double the business again over the next 3 years. So this is all the 5 components that we test for on Will to Sell. Now, again, you can checklist this. You don't have to buy this assessment. I'm not trying to sell it to you. You can just figure out, do they have a desire? Do they have a commitment? What's their outlook look like? What's their responsibility level? And what's their motivation level? Then we move on to what Objective Management Group has coined the sales DNA. And these are 6 things that really encapsulate the underlying beliefs and actions to support sales success. So one is doesn't need approval. In this example, this person has it as an opportunity for growth. So they're asking a lot of questions. They're avoiding asking questions to challenge the status quo. They don't want to upset their customer. Versus feeling comfortable going out on a limb a little bit. They're not worried about getting someone's approval. I just had someone I coach who told me yesterday in a sales meeting that she finally feels comfortable making calls and it doesn't bother her if she's interrupting somebody. It took us 4 months of sales coaching to change this DNA aspect. And that's the thing with sales DNA. We call it DNA because it's part of who someone is, and it's really hard to change. The next is stays in the moment. So in sales, there's always unforeseen objections. There's stuff that comes up. People kind of get in their own head versus staying in the game. Can they remain objective? Can they stay calm? Do things rarely catch them off guard? And it's something that salespeople have to be successful. The third part of DNA is supportive beliefs. And I mean, guys, there's dozens of these that this assessment looks for, but it's beliefs around money. It's beliefs around how we buy things. It's belief about what's appropriate. Some people will tell you that they believe they have to have a relationship to sell, and they would actually prefer to be liked by a prospect than make a sale. I've had people in an interview, I ask them outright, would you rather be liked or would you rather have a sale? And people will tell you, they'll be honest, if you ask them, I would rather be liked because relationships are important. Now, of course, relationships are important, but that could be a negative self-talk belief at that level. And there's too many to go in here, but some salespeople think that it's inappropriate to talk about money. Some salespeople think that $10,000 is a lot of money. If they believe that, they're not going to sell a contract for more than 10 grand. They have to have a supportive buy cycle. And what that means is people sell how they buy. So when someone's a comparison shopper, when someone really watches every penny, when somebody's always looking for a discount on something that they're buying, then they're probably not an ultra effective salesperson because they believe and they allow their prospects and customers to comparison shop, to chase every penny, to always get a discount. And if you have a supportive buy cycle, if you can make decisions quickly, if you're not always in this indecisive mode, then you're able to handle those pushbacks as a salesperson that prospects will give you. The fifth is comfortable discussing money. We can't, it's frankly inappropriate to give a proposal to someone without talking with them about what it would cost, but salespeople do it all the time. And they'll skip that conversation because they're not comfortable talking about finances. This is something that a lot of people's parents have ingrained in them. We need them to be able to talk about that. If they're not having a budget conversation early, they're missing one of the 3 main things that we have to qualify buyers on before it's appropriate to propose. And we want to make sure that our salespeople are comfortable doing that at the level that our business requires. And then finally, handling rejection. I'm a big baseball fan. I was watching the All-Star game last night, and it's so cool to watch those guys out there. But you know that those All-Stars at their best, the best players in all of baseball, are still only hitting the ball 25-35% of the time. Right. And baseball is such a great analogy for sales, because even when you're an all-star, even when you're a Hall of Famer, even when you're super awesome, you still have more rejection than success. You still have to be able to handle that getting turned down all the time. And you can't logically get someone to do that. It's kind of ingrained. It's sort of this great thing. And there's so much psychology and science around this, and around how people grow up. And we don't have time to talk all about that. My point is, if you're going to hire someone, they got to be rejection proof. They got to be able to just pick up the phone again after getting rejected. They got to pick up that phone again after getting rejected 10 times, maybe 100 times. They got to snap those slumps and know and trust the process that they have. And that is a internal mental game, which is, far more important than the tactics. So we start with the will to sell as the most important predictor of sales success. We move on to the sales DNA, which we can improve for people, but it really takes time and is difficult to do it. And then we move to tactical competencies. Now, tactical competencies are the technical skills and abilities to actually make sales. And they're super important, but they're the third most important because they're actually teachable. We can teach someone technical skills and abilities probably within 6 months of coaching without too much effort. Sales DNA is probably months, or if not years, of almost therapy level coaching, and desire and commitment may not be able to be changed at all. So it's levels of ability here in terms of our chances as sales manager or owner to influence someone to better performance. So we have 10 tactical competencies that we look at. The first is hunting. So is someone able to consistently and proactively go look for leads? I'm going to guess that you're in here because you're a premium price and the phone's not ringing off the hook with people looking to buy your product, right? If you were the lowest price, you get as many customers as you need. And if you're super in demand and you can't keep up with all your leads, then you don't need to hire a salesperson. But you need to hire a salesperson because you want a premium price for what you do, which you deserve. And you need them to go find people who might have a need, who are willing to spend that money. So we need salespeople, generally speaking, who are willing to get out there, make those connections, cold call, cold network on LinkedIn, cold network in person, evangelize for our brand, figure out a way to move beyond just waiting for inbound leads. Then they have to be able to reach decision makers. I give the analogy all the time. There's lots of people in a sale who can say no, but only a couple who can say yes, right? So if I'm calling on a commercial maintenance contract, the security guard can tell me no. The receptionist can tell me no. The assistant property manager can tell me no. Maybe the property manager can tell me no, but only the VP of property management can tell me yes to actually write the contract. Happens all the time. Salespeople who are weak tend to start at the bottom and try and work their way up. Great salespeople start at the top and get to that decision maker. Now, there are times where you need to start at the bottom and you need to get referred up, but the skill is really, can you reach the decision maker? Can you find a way to talk to them? And will you consistently do it for our company before we give them a proposal? I was coaching a salesperson in our landscaping industry who was new. He previously sold home improvement sales. He would do solar panels and siding and roofs. And he told me it was so easy because when he walked into somebody's house, he would always look around for a picture and they would have a picture of all the decision makers. And if he was not meeting with all the decision makers, whether it was a spouse or parents or whatever, then he just called the timeout and waited until they could meet all together. And he always reached the decision maker. That was ingrained into him. We had to translate it to the commercial landscaping space. Then relationship building. So this context is relationship building for salespeople in a new sales environment. So some people are great at building relationships, but we're looking to make sure that they can build relationships quickly by proactively and consistently talking with a customer until they become a friend. And this has to happen within 1 to 2 sales calls. So we may find someone who's great at relationship building at barbecues, who's great at relationship building in their neighborhood, who's great at relationship building in their personal life, but can they do it in a sales environment? And that's what we want to see. So all of these are sales specific, by the way. Can they sell consultatively? What does that mean? That means getting to the compelling reasons to buy. I meet people all the time in our industry who can tell me all about why the products they use are so good, why the equipment they use is so good, why what they do saves the environment, but they never ask the customer why it's important to them. You have to use active listening skills. You have to figure out what really matters, even if you think you know. And part of this skill is asking good, tough, and timely questions of prospects to figure that out. Then they need to sell on value. Again, I'm assuming you're not the lowest price provider. So if you're not the lowest price, why would someone purchase it? Well, it's because a salesperson can articulate what we have to offer in terms of true value rather than simply lowest cost. And that's what I always strive for, right? I'm a high cost, higher value provider. And you can go, I mean, look, if you want to do a hiring assessment, you'll find cheaper ones. But will you find someone who has the value of understanding the industry, who has the predictive ability that they're comfortable giving a guarantee, and who's going to give you findings on 170? You're not. It's the highest possible value. That's not for everybody. Maybe your business is too small. No problem, right? Maybe you want to keep rolling the dice. No problem. But if you want the highest possible value, I'm your guy. Our salespeople have to position our product the same way. Next, qualifying. So I keep talking about this thing that salespeople do where they inappropriately quote, right? They go out and they send quotes to anybody who asks for it without ever figuring out if they're talking to the decision maker, if they have a compelling reason to buy, and if they have the budget to invest. Great salespeople qualify those opportunities before they do, and they don't prematurely quote. Then we look at their ability to give presentations. Do they think logically? Do they look good? Can they give a focused presentation that meets the customer needs? Can they close, which is getting a verbal agreement in advance of a meeting and holding people accountable to it in a sales situation? Super hard, very common to see most people score below target here. Do they have a milestone-centric sales process that they're working through every time? If you're involved in operations, I know you have a process. I know you go about jobs exactly the same way all the time because it's efficient and you get the results. Salespeople, often wild, wild west. Try something new every other call. Don't track anything. Don't have milestones. It doesn't make any sense. You can have a sales process that it gives you the framework to move someone through. And if you do, you can sell tens of millions of dollars of maintenance work. And then finally, ability to use sales technology. Technology is unbelievable. I talk about all this stuff: qualify, tracking, process, behaviors. How are you going to do that efficiently? It's not with Excel or a notepad. Salespeople who come in with a ratty notepad and they're flipping through trying to tell me where people are at, they don't stand a chance compared to someone who's using a CRM, who's using automation, email drip campaigns. It's incredible. And all that marketing work ends up funneling and supporting sales when it's done the right way. Is someone on LinkedIn? Are they using video in their presentations? Do they know how? If they can't do that, they're going to be impacted. But again, all these tactical competencies are teachable things. Now, that's all great, but what about your company, right? Your company isn't the same as every other company. So part of using Objective Management Group as a candidate screening tool is figuring out the compatibility for your company. And we look at that in 30 odd ways. I selected a few. The first is the primary market. So what's your sector? what title are your salespeople selling to, and what kind of methods are you using to go about it. And even in landscaping, there's a lot of different ways, right? So maybe you're a trade show based company, maybe you're doing direct mail, because I know we have some fertilization companies here who are trying to get the as many residential clients as they can. Maybe you're doing big bespoke projects that are all 6 figures, and it's all networking and word of mouth, and maybe you're part of professional groups. But whatever the selling method is, we need a salesperson who knows that method. Then we're going to look at the resistance that someone's going to face. How much competition is there in our market? What's our price compared to our competition? Is it high? Is it low? Is it middle of the road? And what does somebody make a decision on? How are they choosing what to buy? Is it something they have to buy, like maintenance? Or is it something that they could buy, like backyard design build project? Those are 2 very different scenarios. Calling on someone who has to buy what we're selling but has to choose who, versus someone who doesn't have to buy what we sell. You need potentially 2 different salespeople for that. Then we look at the average size of the order, the frequency of the order. So is the salesperson selling once and moving on, or are they servicing them, or are they getting yearly renewals? And how long does the sales cycle take? The longer the sales cycle, the potential impact that we need on commission structure and salesperson comfortability with risk. Can we demonstrate what we do in snow removal? I couldn't really demonstrate what we did, but if you're selling backyards, then you can bring someone to a materials yard. You can bring them to a existing customer's house and walk them through it. And that changes the dynamic and difficulty of the sale. What's our quality compared to our competition? And are we selling direct, or are we selling through franchisees, or are we selling through someone else who sells our services? Then we look at the environment, right? Are you operating in an environment where you have a sales manager in the office who's going to give coaching all the time? Or is this person working remote? Are you going to put a bunch of pressure on the salesperson, or are you going to be pretty low pressure with them? We need someone who fits the environment which we're going to offer. And then we look at the type of firm. Sometimes, if you're a small professional firm, you might have a struggle getting a salesperson from a large Fortune 500 company to feel comfortable with the lack of support that your firm offers. So we asked, do you have this experience? We had a question about compensation. How much commission should I offer my salesperson? Well, there's a lot of factors depending on all these different things that would change my answer between 10% commission to 90% commission. But what's most important is that salesperson has a proven track record of selling on that commission structure. So we need to ask them about the type of compensation that they've been successful with in the past. And finally, leads and networking. What type of networking do we expect from them? Do they have to be active on social media? These are all questions that we fill out to build a job profile specific to your firm to say, yes, this person can sell and they can sell for you. So altogether, we're up to like 170 metrics that funnel into these 21 selling competencies and these 30 odd compatibility factors. And we do it through an assessment. You can ask the same things, but you have to ask them one way or the other. Now, moving on to the process of hiring a salesperson, right? So that's what you're looking for to make sure they're good. Here's where people still blow it, even when they pay for the assessment. There are 5 keys to hiring a salesperson. And the first is to have an effective job posting. So typically when I tell people about job postings, we talk about brag about the company. We talk about all the corporate social responsibility and goodwill stuff your company does. We talk about the opportunity for growth. But here we need to focus on 3 things in particular. The challenge of the role, because salespeople need to get inspired by insurmountable challenge. So this should read very different. The job posting that's effective for salespeople is challenging to them. Don't apply for this job if you're not ready for the next level. Now we talk about the opportunity. Great, up and coming, big growth market, opportunity to reach the next level of your career. And we talk about the pay. You have to have been earning at least $80,000 previously because we're paying $90,000, right? And so we want to really preclude people who don't have that sales mindset from even applying in the first place. Then we need a standardized candidate experience. That way you can compare candidates to each other. If you don't have it standardized, if you're not using the same questions all the way through every interview, how do you even compare? And it's a fair way of doing things, and it's a predictable way of doing things. So what we do when I hire someone or help my clients hire someone is we come up with a list of the 35 or so interview questions that we ask. We score them 1 to 5, and we write down what a 1-point answer looks like and a 5-point answer looks like. And then when they come in for an interview, it's really boring. We just read the question off the piece of paper. And I'm not allowed to deviate from that script. And the candidate answers and they don't get feedback. We just circle something on the page. It's a little unnerving for them, but at the end of the day, we get a comparable and fair score between all of the candidates, so we know who to hire and we can predict it with really good success. Now, whether you use objective management group or not, I think you need to have objective assessments involved, because objective assessments are judgment-free, meaning they don't care who this person is. They don't care what experience they have. It just looks at their talent. Everything else that's not an assessment is not judgment-free. We make judgments all the time based on what they wear, what's on their resume. Did they compliment our company or us when they came in? You know that professional interviewers who get complimented by job candidates are 40% more likely to push that one through, even though they're professionally trained to ignore such applicant gaming as that. It's impossible without an objective assessment in the process. If you're going to use an objective assessment, which you need to do, then I'm going to tell you, get the technical report and see how predictive it actually is. The other great thing about objective assessments is that they're huge time savers. So with my clients who use an objective management group candidate assessment for salespeople, it's the very first thing that happens. I'll talk about automation in a second, but the very first thing a candidate does is takes the assessment. And we never even look at their resume. We don't talk to them. We don't call them. We don't do anything unless they pass that bar, which means out of, say, 50 candidates who apply and then 40 who maybe complete the assessment, we only ever talk to about 10. So we're saving 5 times our time in the hiring process. It is phenomenal. It's maybe the best part of this, despite the predictability. And an objective assessment can be accurate. Again, look at the technical report, see what their predictability is. Objective management group, 92% of recommended who are hired become a top performer within 12 months. You should get numbers like that for what you pay for. Now, I recently had someone who was hired for a company I was coaching as a salesperson. That company made some sales management mistakes, and that person didn't work out. The relationship kind of dissolved. So this person got laid off, and I felt bad because I didn't feel like it was entirely their fault. And so I called him and I said, "Hey man, sorry it didn't work. I'd love to help you find another job." And he said, "Well, I'll let you know if I need help." And we kept in touch, and he had accepted a position within 6 days as a director of sales for another company. High performing salespeople who can sell whatever it is they want to sell can sell themselves, and they're going to have a job very quickly. And so we need a super high speed process to capitalize on anyone who enters it. If we don't capitalize on someone who applies, then there's no point in them even applying, because by the time we get back to them in 3 days, 4 days, they probably have another job offer. I think today people expect a really quick answer. They're expecting 24/7. I mean, I'm hiring candidates for sales roles and they're texting me on Saturday and Sunday morning. They're taking assessments over the weekend. They want to interact all the time. It's the expectation of society today. And it's what's required to be competitive. I think that we need to get someone on the hook or engaged within 1 hour of their application during business hours. And we need to be moving them to a next stage of a proposal within 24 hours. So if that process, well, I'll show you the process in a second, but between each stage, 24 hours maximum. If we're not moving that fast, then we're susceptible to losing them to the competition. And then the only way to be that quick, though, is to use automation. Automation today is so easy, and it's effective, and it's personal. If you haven't seen what Team Engine does, go check it out. Okay. Somebody applies the Team Engine, they get personal, effective text messages sent direct to their phone. It comes from your name, your number, you customize the whole thing. There's a whole flow that gets built in. You one-click everything. When I click interested on a candidate in Team Engine, it sends them a text message. Hey, Joe, I'm interested in interviewing you. Can you please send me 3 times that work for you in the next week? One click, text message gets sent out. Joe's messaging back. I get notified in the email. We set up a calendar interview based on his times. And then the Team Engine reminds him of that 4 times in a row because that's the way we set it up. It is so easy to set it up with the right technology. I firmly believe Team Engine is the way to do it, which is why I partner with them on stuff like this. And I think that you got to check it out and get involved. If you're trying to text message or email or connect with all of these people individually, you'll never get that high-speed process you need to be competitive. So here's the ideal process. We attract someone with the right job application. They engage, meaning apply, right? In some way, shape, or form. At this stage, within an hour to 24 hours, we get them the assessment. They take an assessment, either they fail and we never do anything with them again. Actually, we never did in the first place because this is all automated, right? Top line is automated, bottom line is manual. So they automatically get sent a message. They automatically take a text. If they fail, they automatically go away forever. If they pass, we engage with them, leveraging that automation to set up an interview. We set it up within 24 hours. Now, this could be several interviews. Common to do a phone screen followed by an in-person interview, then a final interview. Could be 2 things, could be a phone screen, then an interview. But all of those subsections are happening within 24 hours. So they pass the test within 24 hours, we schedule a phone screen. Within 24 hours of that, we schedule an interview. Within 24 hours of the interview, we make a hire or no hire decision. There is no point where we're comparing candidates because they've already either passed the bar and should be offered a job, or they don't and they should be rejected. Got to get comfortable with a binary decision at this higher point. If you try and hold them here to compare them to other people, you lose everybody. I've seen it happen over and over again. Why would you put in all these tests, all these questions, all this predictive assessment, and then not trust it to make a hiring decision? It's crazy. Get away from it, right? You make the hiring decision, you get them on board. This one probably takes about 2 weeks, but you're looking for an accepted job offer within 24 hours. If they don't accept your job offer within 24 hours, they're shopping you, and you're probably not going to get them. And then you coach them. I don't care how good they are. I don't care how recommended they are. If you don't have a sales manager or an onboarding program or a coaching plan, they're probably not going to be great for you. They're not going to feel developed. They're not going to feel appreciated. They're not going to perform at their best. I'm just telling you what definitely works. Now, why improve here? Why do I do this for a living? Because I know that everybody in the world wants a good job. And I believe over the next 30 years, the world's going to be won on economic force. Here's the thing. Sales drives jobs. Every business in the world is somebody sells something, something happens in the business, and people get paid. Sales is the most critical foundational role in any company because without it, nothing happens ever. No matter how good the product is, no matter how nice the people are, no matter how competent, no matter how passionate, if there's no sales, companies die. So I love to help people sell more because it creates great jobs for lots of people, and counties and states and nations thrive as a result. So I want to help you do that. And if you want to change the world by creating great jobs, there's 3 ways to do it. One is go build a great workplace. If you need more sales and more profit to do that, then I hope you find that person. And I hope this helps you do it. That's why I put this webinar on. And I hope you have insight on what to look for to not make a sales hiring mistake that will stop you from building a great workplace. If you want to do more, refer me to speak. I'm only here because someone referred me a Team Engine a few years ago. We've had a great relationship. I only find out about opportunities to speak based on referrals. So if you're part of an association, if you know of a trade show, if you want me to speak to your company about anything on employee experience or sales, if you know a chamber of commerce or a trade school, I would love to talk to any audience you know who needs to hear messages about how to be successful in business or how to find fulfillment in life. And third, if you want to change the world, you can ask me for help to hire salespeople. There is a product I sell. It saves you the time of asking all these questions or figuring out how. I'll tell you, it's more economical than headhunters. Honestly, the ROI is insane, and I'd be happy to chat with you about it. But most importantly, keep in touch. That's my email, my cell phone. You can text me, you can call me. I'm around this afternoon after this. Also, I'm on Facebook and LinkedIn. I'd love to connect with you professionally there. And we send out a weekly blog. You text bench to 42828 to get on our Grow the Bench weekly blog where we put out great information. So we advertise this as 45 minutes. It's been 45 minutes. I'm happy to stay longer and answer any Q&A you have if you want to drop it in the chat, or you can talk offline. But I hope this was helpful. Danielle will be sending out this entire presentation recording, as well as a PDF checklist of those 21 competencies and the 5 factors to have in a job hiring process. And if you need more, just reach out. Plus, you'll have the link for a process grader on your hiring and your calculator to figure out how much the wrong salesperson is costing you. So Danielle, do we have any questions?
I have been watching the chat closely. I don't think we've had anyone pop in with any questions as of yet. So if you have a burning question for Neal right now would be the time to find the chat and send that in. But as he said, he's available afterwards. And I will be sending out the email this afternoon with the link to the recording, that PDF, and also the opportunity to sign up for a free Team Engine trial. If you're interested in kicking the tires, getting in there and seeing how our platform can help you speed up your time to hire in the sales process. So I think with that, no questions coming through, we're going to go ahead and conclude. So Neal, thank you so much for your time today and sharing your wisdom with everyone, and to all our participants, thanks as well for attending, and we will see you at the next one. Bye.